Welcome back to another exciting snare drum video. This is a super cool 1992 Pearl 2nd generation 8x14 free floating snare drum. I got a great deal on it, and I couldn't resist. This version was made in Taiwan in 1992. I bought this drum from a high school in Ohio, and the students drew the school name on the side of it with a permanent marker. As a result, it stained the lacquer finish. I removed all the lacquer and gave it a nice sanding from 220 all the way up to 400 grit. Smooth as silk. It's a 6-ply, all maple shell, and it kicks serious ass. The 2nd generation had some major upgrades since the 1st generation, but it basically does the same thing in how it holds the shell. The scarf joint is perfect. The bearing edge had a nasty chip in it. I turned the top edge on the sanding table, maybe 3 or 4 good turns at about 100 grit. Then I put the back edge on the router, just barely hitting it. Then I hand sanded the inner edge with 220 all the way up to 400 grit, and the edge looks, feels, and plays just like the factory. It sounded fine with the chip in it, but getting it cleaned up opened up the head a bit more. It came to me with mismatched hoops, so I added the heavy Pearl Super Hoop 2s. They have a nice balance between die-cast hoops and regular triple flange. On the bottom of the drum, I added the Remo Emperor snare side with some Fat Cat wires. This wire setup is unique in that you can drop the middle portion out for a different sound. It's a bit fiddly and not something you can do in a live situation, but fun in the studio for sure. You can see here I got the strings stuck on the fiddly part putting it back together. The top head has the smooth white ambassador. This combo of heads hits the spot, I gotta say. It has the slick aluminum pearl badge, made in Taiwan, with the gasket in the back and that maroonish color for the font. That was a true 90s look back then. This one's got a nasty scratch. I added the ever-reliable Danmao washers for a trick look. Alright, let's get on to the changes. I gotta say, I like the older free floater design better. Both drums have pros and cons when it comes to the new design. The original lugs were machine lathed and simply screwed into the threaded floating hoop. The newer design is a bit more complicated. It's a chrome pipe with brass inserts set at each end with a brass nut. I pulled them apart and cleaned them up. It was a pain and involved way too many pieces. But this also brings the weight of the drum down a bit. The new system is made from die-cast parts. The throw-off and butt plate strainer adjustment are molded into one piece, thus making it cheaper to create and assemble. It makes sense. It looks beautiful, but the older ones are made of true steel and are much more durable. This design is also set up for plastic snare straps instead of snare string, so it's a bit fiddly if you want to use string like myself, but I made it work. Alright, I'm not sure what else to say. This is a fantastic drum, and one of my favorites by far. Let's give it a listen. Boom diddy boom boom boom.